Hello everyone, my name is Holly and welcome back to your monthly dose of brand new book releases. Today we'll be shining a big old spotlight on December as it is the most wonderful time of the year. A new batch of books, though smaller than previous months, but just as epic. And they are all landing in bookstores near you. I've gathered a really exciting list today that I can't wait to share with you. And as always, I can't talk about every single release, so please let us know any that I miss in the comments. We're actually going to start with a thriller today. There are so many thrillers coming out in December. And though I'm not quite a thriller channel, I'm actually more fantasy and sci-fi, I thought I would at least talk about one of them. And it's the only book releasing on December 1st, and that is Please Tell Me. This is a psychological suspense thriller with a cover that I actually really like. It's like a dollhouse, which reminds me of children, and children are scary, so I guess it kind of fits the horror theme. Speaking of children, the book revolves around one. We have Kathy, an 8-year-old who disappeared from her home, and then suddenly, 15 months later, she returns, but is unable to communicate on what she witnessed. She sees a child psychiatrist for help who gives her toys to enact the whole ordeal, and it becomes very apparent the brutal violence that she went through. So enter our detective who investigates some like crazy shit that's going on. I know some thriller buff out there will be hyped about this, and I just had to include it here. So December 5th is like our hot day of the month, and we have multiple of my own most anticipated releases of the year. And the first one is one that I have a physical copy of. The Dragons of Deepwood Finn. I'm currently reading Warrior of the Wind, which is the sequel to Son of the Storm, but right after I finish that, I'm diving into this one. This is a brand new fantasy entry by Bradley P. Bailew, the author of the best-selling Song of Shattered Sand series, which consisted of 7 books. I'm including the novella collection as well. And he has dipped his toes into some dragon fantasy, which is the way to my heart. It has multiple POVs, dragons that can be bonded with apparently, adventure and an empire in danger, demigods. Truly, it has it all. Like I said, I'll be reading this one in December as a birthday gift to myself since I was sent this beautiful hardcover for review, and I cannot wait. I expect to love this one. Continuing on that same day, we have Griever's Blood, the highly anticipated sequel to the Combat Codes, a really great martial arts fantasy that was primarily set in a fighting school about a boy from the streets with a mysterious past, and he gets noticed, goes to this like hand-to-hand combat school and impresses some of his teachers. I am so pumped for the sequel that Orbit Books is publishing to see how this world is expanded upon. I've heard we get to explore new locations, and I always appreciate that in fantasy. This series is very unique. I highly recommend the first book, and if you've been waiting to be able to read a big chunk of the story, now you can just binge read them both. The Bitter Crown, another sequel, folks. Lots of those lately in the fantasy space, and I love it. You might recognize the cover design. The first one was green. I'll actually put a photo of it up as well, and it was called The Lost War. It's following a ragtag group of adventurers who just might be the key to saving their kingdom. Very like Kings of the Wild-esque, just like the Combat Codes. It's a self-published series that was picked up by traditional publishing. You love to see it. If you're looking for an epic fantasy to just like sink your teeth into with unique characters that wield cool weapons, humor, adventure with like a ton of action scenes, you can check this one out in December. Moving along, we have A River of Golden Bones. This is a Sleeping Beauty retelling as it involves a sleeping curse and an evil sorceress who cast it. And I know there are a lot of like millions of retellings out there, but this one has a lot of good potential for many reasons. Let's get it out of the way already, starting off with a beautiful cover and a unique element which includes shape-shifting werewolves. So does that like make it an urban fantasy retelling? I don't know how that works. Maybe if it takes place in like a grungy city, maybe Sleeping Beauty is a street rat. I'd read that. I do want to mention this is heavy romance, romantasy, the 2023 bookish buzzword of the year, it seems. It involves gender exploration, self-discovery, and monster-filled realms. All the Hidden Paths. Hey, look, it's another sequel. This one honestly snuck up on me. It's the sequel to A Strange and Stubborn Endurance. Reviewers reviewers have stated this has all the same notes as the first one. There's mystery and court intrigue, conspiracies, political scheming, as it follows our same couple from the book one. But obviously things are slightly different as they're having to deal with some newfound info from the ending of book one. If you enjoy following a queer married couple in a royal environment who have to deal with a whole set of problems, then add this one to your TBR. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. That's a very interesting title. I don't know why I struggle saying it for some reason. The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This is being pitched for fans of From Blood and Ash and A Court of Thorns and Roses. That's like the romantic-y version of Game of Thrones and The Lord of the Rings, but it's getting such rave reviews that I really wanted to talk about it. I know a lot of you are going to be curious, and I make these lists mostly for you. So there is a very interesting combination of media in this book. This reviewer actually describes this book as a combination of Twilight and The Hunger Games with a dash of The Vampire Diaries. We have our main character, Araya, who is saved by the vampire king Vincent when her family is killed. He brings her up to his castle where she spends her life in hiding. Then she enters this fight to the death contest where the winner gets a wish, and there she meets a fellow contestant who makes her question everything. So the Hunger Games, but it's with vampires. I'm not gonna lie, that does sound juicy. So there's one very exciting book here coming out on December 7th, and I feel like maybe a lot of you don't know about it. Crucible of Chaos, which is the return to the Great Coat series by Sebastian de Castell. That's right, a brand new novel featuring Estevar Boros, I hope I said that correctly, the King's Crucible, who is a wounded magistrate who faces his deadliest trial inside an ancient abbey where the monks are going mad and the gods themselves may be to blame. That's the word-for-word description from the author himself. This is the prelude to Court of Shadows, which is a sequel series to The Great Coat starring all new characters. It's just such exciting stuff to be getting more within a very beloved world. I know fans are rejoicing over this. I have yet to read the series, which is just insane. It's been sitting on my shelves for years, but maybe it's finally time I pick up book one. I should probably do that. On December 19th, we have The Doom of Odin. This is the third book in a brutal Norse mythology infused fantasy. Just look at that cover. Isn't it freaking cool? Actually, all the covers in the series are super cool looking. They're some of my favorite covers ever. I don't know what it is about them, but man, I'm just so attracted to them. So with it being the third installment, I can't talk about too much, but this is a very loved series that takes place in both Midgard and the Afterlife. It's dark and brutal, and it sees us with a ton of action and adventure as we follow an orc character, which I gotta say, orc main characters already super underrated. So if this is something you are looking for, maybe even someone in your life likes this kind of stuff, any type of Viking Norse stuff. I know I do. I think the series would make a fantastic gift. And finally, our last book on December 20th, we have a brand new vampire book coming into market, and that is Court of the Undead. This is a gothic story set in the Ottoman Empire about two sisters. One of the sisters is kidnapped by a court of vampires, and the other one runs away to train with a group of vampire hunters in order to find and rescue her. Simple enough plot, but there are a ton of early reviews for this one, mentioning it's filled to the brim with action, complex relationships, and the historical setting is just to die for. I'm seriously, there are hundreds of early reviews for this. I'm like, dang, this is way more hyped than I thought. So if you are craving a new vampire book to read this winter, check out Court of the Undead. Whew, and that is going to wrap up today's video, the final list of new releases in 2023. I hope you've enjoyed all the monthly new releases videos I've put out this year, and I will be continuing the tradition in 2024. Wait, actually, I lied. I'll probably be talking about books coming out in January at the end of December, but that wraps up this year, I should say. Tell me which book you're most excited for. Like this video if it helped you out, if it helped you decide what you'll be checking out, and until we meet again, happy reading.